Welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to use substitution to evaluate expressions. But before I do that, there are a few things I want to remind you of. So here, for example, we have -6 touching brackets. When you have a number touching brackets in algebra, it means multiplication. So this particular situation, it means -6 multiplied by -6, which would give you positive 36. The next one, here we have a number next to a variable, and this also means multiply. In this case, this means 9 multiplied by the unknown value of y. And then lastly, down here, we have x next to a y, so we have two variables next to each other. And in this situation, it also means multiplication. And in this particular case, it would mean the unknown value of x multiplied by the unknown value of y. All of these things you are going to find useful when evaluating expressions and using substitution. So let's see how this works. How do you use substitution to evaluate an expression? Here we have a set of instructions. It says evaluate each expression when y is equal to 6. And then down here we have our first expression, 5y plus 4. And we're going to use substitution to solve that. So I'm going to rewrite this. I have 5, and then I'm going to put in brackets. I'm going to take out the y and replace it with a 6. That's substitution. And the brackets are important because that means multiply, and that's what is happening, 5 times the value of y. And I'm going to rewrite the rest of the equation, plus 4. Then if I do 5 times 6, I get 30. And I rewrite the rest of the question, plus 4. And if I do 30 plus 4, I get an answer of 34. So in this particular case, in this particular expression, when 5y plus 4, when y is equal to 6, we get an answer of 34. Let's try another one. So number 2. In this particular case, we have 30 divided by y, subtract 10. And we're going to use substitution again. This time, I'm going to replace the y with 6 as I did before. So I got 30 over 6. So taking the y out and replacing it with a 6, and still have the subtract 10. If I do 30 divided by 6, I get an answer of 5, and I still have my subtract 10. And if I do 5 subtract 10, I get an answer of -5. So in this particular case, for this expression, 30 divided by y subtract 10, when y is equal to 6, we get an answer of -5. For these next examples, we have two variables that we need to substitute for. M is equal to 4 and t is equal to -2. So if we go to our expression -3m plus t, we're going to have to substitute both variables. So let's do that. So I'm going to rewrite this, -3, and then m is being replaced by 4, plus, and t is being replaced by -2. And I'm going to put brackets around the -2, not because it means multiply, but because I'm trying to separate the signs. If I do the math, -3 times 4 makes -12, plus my -2. And if I do -12 plus -2, I'm going to get an answer of -14. Let's try another one. Number 2. In this particular case, I have m divided by t. So I'm going to substitute, as I have been doing, to replace the m with a 4 and the t with -2. And if I do 4 divided by 4 divided by -2, I'm going to get an answer of -2. Let's try one more. Third one. In this particular case, I have m next to a t, which, if you recall from the very beginning of the tutorial, that means multiply. I'm going to replace the m with 4 in brackets, and I'm going to replace the t with -2 in brackets. 4 times -2 makes -8. At this point, I'd like you to pause the tutorial and try these 3 questions on your own. So for number 1, I'm going to rewrite it using and I'm going to replace the x with 4, and I'm going to replace the y with -3. And again, I'm going to put in brackets to separate the signs. 4 times 4 is 16, plus -3. 16 plus -3 makes 13. For the next one, I'm going to replace the y with -3. So we got -2 times -3. Subtract. And then I have replace the x with a 4. -2 times -3 makes +6. Subtract 2 times 4 is 8. 6 subtract 8 makes -2. For the third one, I'm going to replace the x with a 4, put it in brackets, and replace the y with -3 in brackets, which means 4 times -3, and I would get an answer of -12. In these next couple of examples, we're going to replace the same variable on more than one occasion in the same expression. So here you can see we got 5x and we've got 2x. So we're just going to replace it twice with 8. So let's do our substitution. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 times 8 subtract 2 times 8 plus 15. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 15. 40 subtract 16 is going to be 24, plus 15. 24 plus 15 is equal to 39. In the next one, number 2, we have a decimal in this particular case. We have 5x subtract 0.5x subtract 6. No difference. We're just going to substitute. So let's do that first. 5 times 8 subtract 0.5 times 8 subtract 6. 5 times 8 is 40. Decimal 5 times 8 is the same thing as dividing 8 by 2, half of 8. So if we multiply something by decimal 5, we're cutting it in half. So 0.5 times 8 would simply be 4. Subtract 6. 40 subtract 6 is 36. 36 subtract 6 is 30. I would like you to try these 2 examples before you finish the tutorial. So we're going to substitute x and replace it with -10. So 3 times -10, subtract 2 times -10 plus 20. 3 times -10 makes -30. Subtract 2, subtract, it should be add, -2 times -10 makes +20. Plus 20. -30 plus 20 makes -10. -10 plus 20 make a final answer of 10. For the next one, we are going to have 7 times -10 plus -40 divided by 2 times -10. Subtract 8. 7 times -10 makes -70. Plus, we have -40. 2 times -10 makes -20. Subtract 8. Rewrite this one more time. -70 plus 40, -40 divided by -20 makes 2. Subtract 8. And then -70 plus 2 makes -68. -68 subtract 8 will give us a final answer of -76.